हेलो अभी हम लोग डिस्कस अबाउट डिफरेंट क्वेश्चन नंबर 8 देख लेते हैं आगे. Second schedule of the Constitution provided and provisions relating to and the emoluments and allowances and privileges of the President and Prime Minister of India, Judge of the Supreme Court and of the High Courts, and Chairman and the Deputy Chairman of the Councils of States, Controller and Auditor General of India. Select the correct answer using the code given below. First is correct. Schedule second B. First and second is the Schedule second of the Indian Constitution contain provisions related to the allowances, privileges, emolutions of the President, Governor of States and Speakers, and the Deputy Speaker of the House of the Peoples, and the Chairman and the Deputy Chairman of the Council of the State, and the Speakers and the Deputy Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, and the Chairman and the Deputy Chairman of the Legislative Councils of the State, the judges of the Supreme Court and the High Court, and the Controller and Auditor General of India. Question number 9. Which of the following animals are known and to use and the echolocation for the navigations? Dolphins, whales, bats, and hyena and mouse and eyes. Select the correct answer using the code given below. First, second, third, and fourth. 5 is correct. Explanation. Echolocation is a techniques are used by the bats, dolphin, and other animals and to determine the location of the objects and using the reflected sound, and this allow the animals to move around in pitch darkness and so they can navigate and hard, identify friends and enemies, and avoid the obstacles. Many animals and use the echolocations in forms of biological sonars to navigate and the forage and communication, especially in darkness or and the murky environment, while the emitting and high and the frequency sound and the interpretings. The returning echoes and they determine objects and locations, size and distance, and key users and includes birds and the odor process. Toothed and horse, dolphins, and shod and the certain birds. Key animals utilizing the ecological locations and echolocation bit use ultrasonics and clicks to flies and avoid the obstacles and catch small interaction in and the complete darkness and dolphins and the walls and utilize the clicks and to the navigate and locates prey in dark or the woody deep oceans and waters and stray and the tendrils and use the lowers and intensities sounds to the navigate borrow and find food and the oil words and the swiftness and navigate dark caves and using the audibles and clicking sounds and making them and units Unix words and the specials and that use these techniques. Pygmy and Dormouse, and especially on the Chinese pygmies and the Dormouse and the typology, and Cineras and the Vietnam and the Gympie and Dormouse, and thus the nearly and plants and trees and the dwellings rodent use ultrasonic squint and for and the arboreals and navigations. I this and the nocturnals and the primates uses and percussive foragings and tappings on trees and with its and the specialized fingers and listening to and the echoes to locate the hollow canals and the comes inside. Consider the following statement: Parliament and the state legislation can take place to restrict or abrogate the fundamental rights of the members of the armed forces and paramilitary forces. Any such and the laws made control be the challenge in any the court on the ground of the contraventions of any of the fundamental right. Any such law can also the excludes and code and the material and from the right jurisdictions of Supreme Court and High Court. How many of the above statements are correct? All three. Armed force and fundamental rights and Article 33 empowered and the Parliament and to the restricts or and the abrogates the fundamental right of the members of the armed force. Armed force, paramilitary forces and police forces and intelligence agency and the analog forces. The objective of this the provision is to the ensures the proper and the discharges of their the duties and the maintenance of disciplines among them. The power to make laws and under the Article 33 is conferred only on and the Parliament and not on and the state legislatures. Hence, statement first is not correct. Any such laws are made by the Parliament cannot be the challenges in any the court on and the ground of the contraventions of any of the fundamental right. And statement second is correct. According to the Parliament and has the enacted the Army Act 1915 and the Navy Act 1915, the Air Force Act 1950, the Police Forces Restrictions of Rights and Act 1966, the Border Security Forces Act and so on. Thus impose and the restrictions on theirs freedom of speech, rights to the forms and associations rights to be the members and of the trade union or the political associations, right to communicate with the press and right to the attend and public meetings or the demonstrations, etc. The expression members of the armed force also the cover and such and the employees and of and the armed forces as the barbers and carpenters, mechanics and cooks and chowkidar, boot makers and tailors and who are the known and the combatant. A parliamentaries and law enacted under the Article 33 can also the includes the court and materials tribunals and established under the military laws and forms the right and the jurisdictions. jurisdictions and of the Supreme Court and the High Courts, and so far and as the enforcement and of the fundamental right is and the concerned. Hence the statement third is correct. Consider the following statement regarding the direct firing sights navigation system. The system is designed and to enhance the accuracy in the sight of the line of sights and weapon engagement. It is operates even in the GPS and design conditions. The sight is and the particularly effective against the low and the flying and drones, the vehicles and fast moving thread. How many of the statements given above are the correct? All three. She is correct. The direct firing sights and navigation system is the combat and technology package that allowed the artillery units to engage the target directly and autonomously. The system integrated the CM3 and MR direct firing sights, and which they utilized and advanced the opticals and the thermals and the technological logics to significantly and enhance the accuracy during the line of the sight and direct fire engagement. Hence statement first is correct. It incorporated and the Sigma 30 and the inertials and navigation system. Unlike standard GPS and this the inertial systems and the calculates positions and using the motions and sensors, allowing it to the operate and the autonomously in GPS denied or heavily and jammed electronic welfare environment. Has statement second is correct. The system integrated N2 and the critical components Sigmas and 30 and navigation system and CM3 and MR direct firing sights. The Sigma 30 is an the advanced inertial navigation system used for the autonomous artillery positionings and targeting the high and the precision and sighting and the real-time thermal optics make the system and particularly lethal and against the modern battlefield and threat including low flying and drone, fast moving vehicles and others the visible target. Consider the following statement. Article 341 and mandates and that the President and after the consultations with the state and governor and may the notified the caste and tribes and the rates and deems to be and the schedules caste and in relations to other state any and the alterations and to the precedence and list is only done by the parliamentary law and alone, and the state and do not have any and the competence to change the list. Which of the following giving above statement are correct? First and the second is correct. Recently, C is first and second. Recently, the Supreme Court has and the clarified and that any the inclusions and or and the exclusions of any the caste and race or other tribes and or the part of the group and within the caste race or the tribe has to be and why the law made and why the parliament and not why any and the others mode or manners uses of Articles 341 mandate that the President after the consultations and with the state governors and maybe the public notification is specific the caste races or the tribes and or the parts and of other groups and within the caste races or the tribe and which and shall for the purposes of this the constitutions and to be deemed and to be the cedial caste in relation and to other state or union territories used to aid and that any and the amendment and or the alterations and or the variations to the President list and numbers Article 341 have to be the made and by the parliamentary and law alone and not by any notification. The Supreme Court concludes that the state government had no the competent and authority and power and to the thinkers with the list of the scheduled caste and published under the Article 341 and of the Constitution, and option C is correct. 14. Which of the wetlands and of India's and where and the recently added to the list of the wetlands of international importance and the Ramsar list? Gosavil's lakes and the Landwood Solar Reserve Forest and Silisere Lake and Karai Betty Bird Sanctuary. Select the correct answer using the code given below. First and third is correct. India added Goga Beans Lake in Bihar and the Siri Sera Lake in Rajasthan and the Kopra Reservoir in Chhattisgarh and list of the wetlands of international importance, the Ramsar list, and India now has 96 wetlands under the Ramsar Conventions. Siri Sera Lake, it is in the semi-arid zone and fell in the buffer region of the Sri Sera Tiger Reserve. It is in the human-made wetlands. Created in 1845 AD and the Maharaja Vijay Singh and by creating the bird crows, the tributaries of the river and the ruparals, biodiversity, Egyptians, vultures, black stores and tigers, Indian and the pangolin, leopards and sambars. Hence point third is correct. Kopra Jalese. Location in and the Bilaspur districts and this the reservoirs is and the significant for having and the nutrient rich and the backwaters and the serving as the first and the recognized and high value wetlands in Chhattisgarh, and it is and the reservoirs and located in and the upper and the catchment of the rivers and the Mahanadi. It is and the expansive open the waters areas and the features and shallow and nutrient and rich the backwaters.